In a world just jam-packed with dating hacks and pickup lines, one book came along and asked this really radical question. What if the real secret to attraction isn't about some kind of performance, but just raw, unfiltered honesty? Well, today on The Explainer, we are diving deep into Mark Manson's book, Models. So, what's Manson's big idea? Well, he basically says that all that typical dating advice, the lines, the tactics, the games, it's just broken. He argues it doesn't just fail you in the long run, it actually sets you up for these really unfulfilling, kind of toxic relationships. So what's his big counterintuitive solution? Okay, so let's start with the big problem. According to Manson, it's something he calls the performance trap. And you know what this is. It's that feeling, deep down, that the real you just isn't good enough. So you feel like you have to put on a show, right? Perform, just to get someone to like you. And this is exactly why Manson wrote the book. He was really pushing back against what he saw as this, toxic pickup industry. He saw guys being taught to use these canned lines and all these manipulative tactics. And he said, look, this is just a one-way ticket to feeling like a total fraud in your own life. So this really boils down to a fundamental choice. On one side, you've got performance-based dating. This is all about faking it, right? Using lines, hiding who you really are. But on the other side, there's the honesty-based path. And that's, well, it's the total opposite. It's about having the guts to just express yourself, flaws in everything, and being straight up about what you want. I mean, one's a mask and the other, that's just you. And to really see why this performance thing just doesn't work, let's look at this story from the book about a guy named Daniel. So Daniel, he uses all the classic pickup tactics on a woman, Stacy. And at first, it seems to be working. But here's the twist, the real kicker. Stacy wasn't actually into his perfect lines. What she was really drawn to was his genuine, kind of authentic awkwardness while he was trying to deliver them. So the second his script ran out, his real neediness just flooded in, and the whole act just crumbled. It was never a real solution, just a band-aid. Okay, so if performing is the trap, how do you get out? Well, Manson's answer is this really powerful concept he calls the non-needy man. All right, and this right here, this is the absolute cornerstone of the entire book, non-neediness. At its heart, it just means you're more invested in your own opinion of yourself than you are in what other people think of you. It means your actions start coming from your own values, not from this constant search for someone else's approval. The book makes this super clear by showing us two characters, James, the needy guy, and Jeff, the non-needy guy. So James, his whole life revolves around getting a woman's approval. He'll drop everything for her, but Jeff has his own life, his own priorities. He invites women to be a part of it, sure, but he isn't defined by how they react. You see the difference? One is constantly seeking validation, and the other, he already has it from within. And this is the whole mindset shift in a nutshell. The default needy question is always, will she like me, right? But the non-needy reframe is to ask, will I like her? It totally flips the script. You go from being the one auditioning to being the one who's holding the audition. It changes everything. Okay, now I know what you might be thinking. This whole non-needy thing, it sounds a little cold, maybe even arrogant, right? But Manson says, no, that's not it at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. True non-neediness is built on a foundation of real, genuine vulnerability. There's this fantastic quote in the book from a psychologist, Dr. Robert Glover, and it just hits so hard. He says, humans are attracted to each other's rough edges. Just think about that for a second. We don't really connect with perfect, polished images of people. We connect with real people, the ones who have the guts to show their imperfection. But, and this is super important, we have to understand what real vulnerability is and what it isn't. It's not a performance like telling some sob story just to get sympathy, and it's definitely not using brutal honesty as a free pass to be a jerk. Real vulnerability, as Manson says, isn't a tactic you use. It's just a way of being. So, how does this actually create a connection? It's kind of a step-by-step process. First, you have to be aware of your own emotions. But then, and this is key, you have to take the lead. You have to share first. That little act of courage, it builds trust. It gives the other person permission to be vulnerable too. And all of a sudden, you're not just trading facts about your day, you're actually connecting on a much deeper emotional level.
All right, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually put it into practice? Well, Manson breaks it all down into a really simple, actionable framework that he calls the 3 fundamentals.
These are basically the 3 pillars you need to build your life on. You can think of them as the foundation, the action, and the expression of a genuinely authentic life. They are honest living, honest action, and honest communication. Let's dig into each one.
First up, the foundation, honest living. This is all built on one simple idea. You attract what you are. So this is about building a life, your job, your friends, your hobbies, that you genuinely enjoy, totally separate from whether anyone else approves of it. Because think about it. If you're not even happy with your own life, you're always going to be needy for someone else to come along and make you happy. Number 2 is honest action. And this one is all about courage. It's about closing that gap, that sometimes terrifying gap, between what you want to do and what you actually do. It means when you get that feeling, that impulse to go talk to someone, you actually push through the fear and just do it. It's about your actions lining up perfectly with your intentions. And finally, honest communication. This is what ties everything together. It means you express your thoughts, your feelings, and even your sexuality openly and clearly, without playing games, without trying to manipulate the situation. It's really the final piece of the puzzle, just being direct, clear, and radically authentic in the way you talk to people.
And Manson leaves us with one last really powerful way to reframe something we all dread: rejection. He asks us to just consider this question. What if it was a gift? What if every time you get a no, it's not a curse, but it's actually a gift that helps filter out the people who aren't right for you anyway, a gift that pushes you, forces you to become an even more honest, more authentic version of yourself. It's a pretty profound thought to end on, and really the ultimate takeaway from this whole philosophy.